Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Yes, we are back from Las Vegas successfully, and man, what a good time it was. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Geraldine Orozco is here for another edition of The Spiritual You, and we're going to have fun with Dirty Filth tonight, who's going to put on another crazy cartoon. But the best part about it all, we have each and every one of you. Hello tonight to Frankie B in the gold medal position. Amanda with a silver medal. David Norenberg taking home the bronze tonight. Kitty Cattywack, how are you? Eternity Eternal. And in seventh spot, Race Fan in the seventh position. Tim Mothman and his goatee, two separate entities. Yes, I did tug the goatee in Vegas numerous times, and I'm damn proud of it. Cosmic Joe, how you doing? Good to see you as we continue on with our roll call. Akryong is here. Akryong will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Hi, Mel WD40, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any rigidness, so Mel makes sure we're lubed up and ready to go. All right, continuing on, there's Necessary Dialogue. Hi, Carol Amario, how are you? Fast Hemi, nice to see you, my friend. Road Flare, good to have you on. As we continue on with our roll call, Shaq Valet, nice to have you here. Shaq will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Les Paul Holland, good to see you. Bar Madison, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call here. And who's next on our list? Scrolling on down. And still scrolling on down. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Sweet Donna C. Bob Thorson, how you guys doing? Hillbilly Herb, nice to see you. Mark, thanks for coming on in. Hello there, Pam Harris. Kathy Evans, good to see you, along with Candy Wolf. Thank you for coming on in. Jay Truth Seeker, nice to have you here, as well as My Flock. Wow, it's been a while, My Flock. How you doing? Operation Shutdown and Lee the Bee, thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. There's Operation Shutdown. And Zen 2, how are you tonight? I hope you're having a great night. Thank you for tuning in from the lovely state of Nebraska. And who else do we have here? Scrolling on down. Number 34 in your program, starting on defense tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Al Garay over on Twitch. 4,000 push-ups in 12 minutes to warm up for tonight's show. His arms are tired, but he's ready for Geraldine. Flubber Lane, how you doing? Good to see you. JMJ12, nice to have you here. Robert Lamoth, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. We'll wait for a few more people to come on in. And let's see here. And just message Geraldine. Who else? Well, what a good time Vegas was. You guys missed out. If you didn't make it, you missed out. Don't worry, though. We're going to do it all again next year. I think we already got the date set. So you have a year to plan. I'm Hardcore over on X. How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, good to see you. What in tarnation? How are you? Paul Demon, good to see you here. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for being here, as Geraldine Orozco will join us momentarily for the Spiritual You. And Dirty Filth is here on the YouTube side, drawing a cartoon ready for us tonight. And we are in roll call on our YouTube side as we say hello to Kurt M. Dave Tiger Williams is here. He'll drop the gloves for you. What a good night. I'm glad to be back tonight. I really am. It's going to be a good time. I miss it when I'm not here. I really do. And we're back from Vegas, so now we can get back in to another long run before I got to take another week off or so. Maybe this summer. I don't know. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Do me a favor, everybody. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators in your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Sooner we'll be long.
Spaced Out Radio Show and on Patreon.
I know you're out there somewhere, but that's too far from home. We're far too far. We're exposed to all. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
Just a few minutes' time, Geraldine Orozco will be here for the Spiritual You. What do aliens really want with humans? Why are they healing some of us? We're going to find out that very, very difficult answer from Geraldine coming up here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will be here with another spooky story. Then from there, we have Robin Haynes coming in for the Crypted Q&A. So get your questions. If you're in our YouTube chat room, get your questions ready for hour 3. So before Geraldine joins us, as you know, we took a few days off. We went to Las Vegas for our annual trek, the Merle and Dave Adventure. However, at times, Merle went one way, I went the other. Why? Well, see, he's Mr. Paranormal. I'm Mr. UFO. So while I was out at Area 51, he was out at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. Why? Well, that's just the way it goes sometimes. But we had a great time at the Orleans. We had about 15, 16 people joining us there, including Jim Goodall. And let me tell you about Jim Goodall, okay? The guy is a legend, okay? 82 years old, drives his Corvette up from Tucson, Arizona to join us in Vegas. And then he takes myself, Jurgen Hess, a.k.a. Hoodoo Tall. He takes Tim James, myself again, Amy Vegas O, and Mario out to Area 51. And he's like, okay, guys, we're going to turn here. We go down this long gravel road. And I figured something out. You know, on gravel roads, construction crews will normally pat that down, but not at Area 51 when they put down the fresh dirt. No, not at Area 51. And I figured out why. Because you could see us for miles. It's like being an airplane with air show smoke in the sky. So you can find them. Yeah, we were driving. And eventually, Tim, Jurgen, and I pulled up to the gate. Had the camo dudes watching us. That was a good shot. It was fantastic. Got pictures by the sign that basically gives us the warning of not going any further. It was absolutely amazing. It was a surreal experience knowing that what we were saying, they were probably listening to with sound devices, that they were watching us they were sitting on this hill in their Ford Raptor truck, just watching us. And you could see them for a while, and it was ominous. It was really ominous because off in the distance, as we were approaching a couple miles before, all you saw was this glint, this small little orb of light coming off the windshield of the truck. And it's like, okay, there they are. And of course, as we got closer, we got to see the truck. Now, they never came down after us, which is good. Okay. But it was still fun nonetheless. And it was an experience of all. But the best part about that, before I bring Geraldine and Dirty Filth on, the best part about it is we go into the Little Alien, and Jim's walking around and he's talking about looking at all the photographs on the building and everything. And Jim's just jumping into every photograph because he's just awesome that way. And then all of a sudden he says, "Hey, that's my blackbird. That's my photo. That's my blackbird." Just like a 12-year-old kid who just gets excited, And here on the wall of the Little Alien, they had a picture. And if you've heard Jim Goodall on this show before, he tells the story about how he commandeered an SR-71 Blackbird that was retired, put it inside a C5 Galaxy, and transported it to the museum where he was trying to get this to put on static display. So on the wall is a picture of that C5 Galaxy unloading the Blackbird. And he was so excited, he held it up, he took it off the wall, he takes it over to the lady who's behind the bar because it's a little diner, it has a bar there and a restaurant. And he goes, "This is my Blackbird. That's my picture." She goes, "Really?" And he goes, "Look." And way down below on the right-hand corner is a faded signature of Jim Goodall. He was happier than a kid on Christmas morning to see that. And she was like, "Oh my God, can I take a picture of you holding this picture?" He's like, "Absolutely." And that's now going to hang at the Little Alien. It was amazing. I'll tell you more about it a little bit later on in the show, but we got to bring our good friend Geraldine Orozco in here for the Spiritual You, because Geraldine joins us each and every month to go over the spiritual side of everything from healing humans to alien contact. And Geraldine has been with us doing this show for well over 7 years now. Hard to believe it's been that long, but she is one of the best guests we have each and every month. And not only is she just an encyclopedia of knowledge, but she also likes to brag about her incredible shoe collection when she is here. And, she is from San Francisco, California. Her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Let's bring her on. Geraldine, I'll get you to unmute your microphone. It's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Dave, great to see you. Wonderful to see you. Hi, Dirty Filth. Great to see you guys.
Geraldine, what have you been up to?
Not much. Lots of exciting stuff. Well, not much. Lots of exciting stuff, actually. Well, we have a month filled of exciting events and projects. The energies are picking up for the year, so it's going to be a big one. Yeah.
Oh, have you put your jackets away for the year yet?
No, not yet. It's not like 80 degrees yet, so no. Fur hats are still out here.
I was walking around when we were in Las Vegas this past weekend. It didn't even get warm. Didn't even get hot.
Yeah, it's weird. Wow.
Yeah. And I think me and Merle were the only ones, and Tim walking around without a jacket on. It was hilarious. Everybody else is in hoodies and jackets, and here we are in t-shirts. Oh, this is a nice day. Very nice. Nice and warm.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
You know what I did miss though? Up here at its SOR headquarters on the weekend, it actually snowed on Saturday.
Wow, really? But I
Yeah.
think, well, it's May. How common is that? Is that still common for you?
Well, you still get these cold Arctic drifts, but you know what else was weird, and I
Yeah.
didn't realize this till I was down there.
Yeah.
I live pretty high up on the continent. Okay.
Yeah.
And I looked at the time, it was pitch dark out, and we're in Vegas. I'm like, man, it's dark out tonight. I looked at the time and it's like 8:49 p.m. Last night at 8:49 p.m., the sun hadn't even set up here yet.
Oh.
It was incredible. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, I didn't realize how much of a difference those, what is it, about, if you, as the bird flies, what, about 1,200 miles from my house to Vegas?
Wow. Yeah. Well,
So it was a little weird.
yeah,
A little
weather's
weird.
it's changing. A lot is changing.
Yeah. So you're the spiritual guru around here. What's new on the spiritual side of this world? Because I know you're getting ready for conference season and you're going to be doing about 38 conferences in the next 40 weeks. You know, you're a busy lady. Everybody wants a piece of Geraldine Orozco because you are absolutely amazing at what you do. How busy is your spring and summer schedule?
Oh, Dave, thank you. You're so sweet. No, I'm actually not going to be doing that many conferences. I'm doing a lot of my own, producing my own events actually. This year, I'm kind of taking a different focus on things so that I can really narrow in on what's important because I really feel that we are preparing for kind of a global transformation. And we have a lot of work to do in humanity. We have a lot of things that we need to heal and prepare and change. And I don't know. For me, the public platform, it's great, but I really enjoy having more like group intimate settings to kind of really connect with the deep information. So that's what I'm being really called to do this year. So yeah, I'm hosting a lot of really powerful workshops and also retreats this year. I am hosting a conference in South America, which I'm very excited about later this year. Yeah, so that's going to be very exciting. We're going to be doing some research on the Nazca skulls and some of the petroglyphs, new petroglyphs that they found in Peru and in Bolivia, which is where my family is from. So I'm really excited to dive deep into the new information that's coming out that will change the course of future. It'll change the course of our past as well. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, you should be. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing that you're going to be taking your adventures onto a different continent. You know, I mean, I can understand with what you're getting at, and you know what? I'm actually kind of glad to hear that you're kind of stepping away from the conference scene this year because there's conferences everywhere, and I love conferences. I really do. Everybody should attend at least one or two a year just to get a feel for some of the incredible research that is out there. But they are time consuming and tiring. You know, like for those of us who have to participate in them with the travel and with the scheduling and you always set up, I don't know if you were like this, but I try and set up meetings when I'm there to have private conversations with people about their research, about the latest news, gossip, everything along those lines. What is a conference like for you?
Well, I really love sharing key information. It's exciting to connect with people that arrive, and we can have. My favorite part is Q&As, where we really get into the deep information, where I get to hear where people are at, what they're looking for, because it's amazing to me. What really just brings so much joy is hearing people's deep inquiries, where they have been doing their research and where they need support. Because that's why a lot of people go to these conferences. They're trying to answer some questions, just like, you know, you and I'm sure you were the same. We used to go to conferences to get information and learn. So for me, the most important part is the part where we get to answer some deep questions. That's when we get into the juicy conversations and probably oftentimes go outside of the topic that we have outlined sometimes. So that's really exciting. I love that. So I like to stick to that more than anything.
When you are When you are at a conference, what's it like when people come up to you and say, Geraldine, I've been having issues with my health, and it seems to radiate around my house being haunted or my ET uh, interactions. Do you like it when people come up to you and just are like, I need some help. Can you help me?
I do. I love it. The only thing is that usually we can't do too much there. I can give as much intuitive insight as I can on the spot, but the real work happens when we are, you know, in a space where we can actually reach that information. And so, that's the thing. This work, I take it very serious. I don't think of it as a flighty thing or entertainment. For me, it's something that, I really want to invest my time in something that will hopefully support the person that's seeking information, right? So I really try to direct as much as I can in a way to empower them, things that they can do on their own time to heal. And yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to hear those things. It's the same in my support group. I have a lot of people that come with the same. I usually tell them, come to the support group so we can have some of these deep dives. But it's a gift to be able to hold space in that way for people, and for people to have the even inspiration to come ask me for something, is a gift. It's an honor. Yeah.
I love it when people come up to me and say, Dave, and this happened just a couple weeks ago in Nebraska at the Bigfoot conference.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't realize how many listeners I had from there. I really did
Wow.
not. I mean, they have
Fantastic.
to catch the show on the internet,
Yeah.
but we got a lot of listeners, including in our chat room on YouTube right now. Zen 1, Zen 2, give them a big shout out. So
Cool.
thank you very much for listening in. But the one thing that I was impressed with was they were like, ever since we found your show, we found a home. We found a place where we could be comfortable, where we didn't feel like weirdos talking about this, and you were able to bring that together, and that just meant the world to me. And I had
Yes.
probably about 7 or 8 people there. Doesn't sound like much, but in our community it is actually a lot when you
Yeah.
go to these events.
Mhm.
And I had like 7 8 people come up to me and just say, you know what, thank you for just doing what you do nightly, because I felt like a lost listener in terrestrial radio and or internet radio as well, trying to figure out what I should do with my nights, and I hadn't found that home since Art Bell way back in those days. God bless Art Bell, but it was just nice to hear a number of people say that. And I'm sure you get that too when you're able to help people and they're able to, I'm going to use the word brag about how you've helped them in order to find focus, in order to find healing and peace and nature within themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. How amazing. I love that. That's so beautiful, Dave. How was the rest of the conference for you, by the way?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm You know what? I don't do a lot of conferences every year. I will always do UFO Con in San Francisco. I'll be back next year for the third year in a row, which is kind of odd and special at the same time in Nebraska, because normally they have a 2-year turnaround on people. And I don't say this to brag, because I'm not a bragging guy, but I guess at the end, Robin Haynes said this last week when she was on the show. I guess that after the event, they pull all the audience members over the 2 days when they are leaving. Can you please fill out this report card on what you think of the speakers, what you think of the event, how can we improve, and everything like that. Well, I guess the last couple years, uh, I've done a good job there. And the people just are like, keep bringing back Dave Scott, keep bringing him back.
Oh,
He gives a great presentation. And I'm like, wow, wow. It's pretty humbling, to be
that's
blunt.
beautiful. Yeah. I'm so proud of you. That's amazing.
So, yeah, I'll be back there next year. And then I don't know. I used to be like, I don't know how you are, but I used to be like, oh, I got to go to this conference, got to go to that conference. Why wasn't I invited to this one? But my competition was, I mean, you kind of go through that competitiveness. And now it's kind of like, I would rather be on the air with my listeners
Yeah.
than away with
Amazing.
at a conference, because even though it's great to meet people and build your contacts and put, a face and shake a hand, with somebody who you've only talked to on the phone or on the radio show. It's nice to meet them, but I miss being home. I miss and being here nightly on this show and doing this for all of our listeners, whether they're listening in on the podcast, the YouTube side, or the terrestrial radio side. There's a comfort that disappears when you're not there.
Yeah.
And I like that comfort.
Yeah.
I like that. And so it really is an honor and a privilege to be able to do what I do. It really is.
Yeah. Thank you for holding space, Dave.
Oh, thank you for helping us hold that space like we are tonight. We got about 4 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. The incredibly talented Geraldine Orozco is here for the Spiritual You, her monthly feature. That's the word I was looking for on this show. Sorry, I still got Vegas brain going on right now, but that's okay. That's okay. Geraldine, in the next half hour, we're going to get into some deep topics about aliens healing us. Why would aliens want to heal us? Well, because, and the reason why I wanted to do this is because while we were in Vegas, it came out in the UFO hearings by Dr. Eric Davis that there are 4 alien species that the United States government is allegedly in contact with right now. There are the Greys, there are the reptilians, there's the Nordics, which are the humanoids, and the insectoids, aka the mantid beings. Some of these are good. Some of these are not so good. They're obviously different derivatives of every species, but some of them actually want to help humanity. And you've had, the good, the bad with everything. And I'm just curious your thoughts on finally hearing that, we might actually be in contact.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. I feel that they are among us. I feel that we are also them. We have them in our DNA. I feel that we are in contact and interacting with them in the astral realm. And I do believe that the government is very much in connection with them, working with them, have been working with them since the origin of time. So I do agree with that. And I do think that it plays a role in the way disclosure has played out in the past, 50 years, really, maybe even more than that. But I think that the more we deep dive into our own experiences, the more we understand what is ET contact really, and the role that we play. So talking about parasitism, the invitation is that we understand as a human race how to become sovereign in the fact that we are engaging and interacting and living in a world that we're sharing with interdimensional beings,
How do we share that realm? 90-second answer.
Well, we have to learn how to master our senses, master our intuition, master astral projection. That's something that has been studied by ancient civilizations. And now it's our turn in order to take our civilization to the next level, which is going to be a merging of the realms where we're going to meet ETs and interact with them in person and, very, very visibly, very feeling and sensory wise. We're going to be interacting with them.
Is it inevitable?
Absolutely. It's inevitable. It's not only inevitable, but it's part of the architecture of our biology. It's the structure of the architecture of the physics of this dimensional realm. So we are multidimensional, and the more that the veil lifts, we become aware of that, essentially.
That is a scary thought for a lot of people who may be hearing that for the first time. To know that, eventually, maybe even within our lifetime, we may actually see an interaction from a species that we wouldn't declare being from here, whether it's from a different dimension, the future, or out from outer space.
That's right. I very much think that we are already interacting. I think we just need to understand what it means to interact with them. What does that actually feel like? It's not going to be like the physical realm. And remember that we are pretty indoctrinated in our perception right now. So we're going to go through a paradigm shattering shift where the old narrative and the old ideas of what is interdimensional, what is ET, is going to shatter. And we're going to
get to that and more with Geraldine Orozco when we return on Spaced Out Radio. We're clear. I pigged out on Taco Bell 3 times.
Taco Bell.
I did.
That's cool.
Actually 4 times, because I actually ordered Taco Bell for the road before we crossed the border coming home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Taco Bell. Why? Why do you
I have a weakness, okay? Geraldine, I have a weakness.
I'm sure it's delicious, yes. Well,
some
how
people use alcohol. Some people use anything to get themselves a little bit high. I use Taco Bell.
That's good. I'm glad. How was the border crossing, by the way? Was it different than before?
It was, I'm going to be honest with you. Took us about 2 minutes to cross and about 3 minutes to get home.
Oh my gosh. Very simple. That's great. I'm so happy to hear that.
all this fear mongering that's going on,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happening at more of the busier crossings.
Yeah.
But the crossing we went to, literally, we crossed the border. Guy says, "Where are you guys going?" And we go, and Tim was driving, so he goes, "We're going to Las Vegas." He goes, "How long are you going for?" 5 days. Well, what's the plan? Gambling and debauchery? No, we're going down to meet some friends from our radio show. No gambling or debauchery? What's the point in it going then? Well, we'll try and get some, sir. All right, have a good time. That was the conversation.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, it's good to talk about those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was fun. It was fun. I'll show you a fun picture here.
Where did you stay in Vegas?
We stayed at the Orleans.
The Orleans. Oh, I don't think I know that one.
It's off the strip.
Okay.
Here's something cool.
Let's see.
There's the camo dudes.
Gosh, that is so cool. What part is Did you went out into the desert? You went to did you go to Area 51? Oh, I just heard you talking about it when I was
we did.
51. Yeah.
We did.
Wow.
And they've got a new alien head out there made of metal.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's a cool piece.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is pretty cool.
Love that. Love the art.
It was pretty awesome.
Any interesting sightings or activity on Area 51 when you went?
Saw an antelope for the first time. There was an antelope running behind us.
That's cool.
Yeah, never seen an antelope before.
Wow, I'm sure that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looked like a deer. Looked like one of the deer in my backyard right now.
Yeah.
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 The deer are finally out.
Oh.
No, the antlers are just starting to grow now on the boys.
Yeah. The antelope had horns, I'm sure.
No horns on the antelope.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. No, I think it was female. But she was beautiful.
Wow,
she was beautiful. Then we saw these little lizards about this big scattering around before the rain started.
Yeah. Any new sightings? Cool. That's cute.
Anything else exciting? Not really. Well, the exciting part was the Jim Goodall story. When he was just so excited about the seeing his photo up on the little alien. He had no idea it was up there.
I just heard it. That's so great.
Yeah. He had the biggest smile on his face. I got to show you the picture. So I had to take a picture of this.
That's so great.
He was so excited to see his.
Look at that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Dirty, let's are you friends with Jim on Facebook?
No.
Okay, I'll hit him up. I want to bring him on next week. We got to tell that story.
I'll draw
Vincent
cartoon.
Muller, welcome. Yeah, I'll get a hold of Jim.
So you had fun, Dave?
What's that?
You had fun?
Yes. We missed you,
Excellent.
though. Nobody ever asks about how I'm doing. Everybody asks, where's Dirty Filth? True story.
Next year, I promise. 1,000,000 Macho Man % at next year, I promise.
All right, good. Jerry Carter, how you doing? We're still waiting for our first super chatter of the night because, it helps out what we do on this show. And we're going to get going here in about 5 seconds, everybody. Here we go. The second half hour of Speaks Out. Great to have you with us. Thank you tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We're going to get to Geraldine Orozco momentarily, but first, we want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. From her self-titled website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Geraldine Orozco is here for the spiritual you, and we're going to get into an amazing topic here. Do aliens actually heal humans? And if so, why? Geraldine, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor as always.
Okay, let's get to it. We know there's good alien species. We know there's bad alien species. You know, what really creates the ratings isn't the peace, love, and light. It's the darkness of it all. But there are a number of people who claim they have been healed by ETs or had some sort of healing experience, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, or physically. How many cases have you covered of this?
Quite a few, including my own experiences of being healed overnight. From an illness that a doctor was saying. And actually, I'm so excited because I just found those documents that I thought I lost from that experience where the doctor was saying that I had 3 months left to live. And then I had the experience where the white light came, touched me on my forehead. And then the next day I was perfect. And when I went to do tests 2 days later, everything was cleared and everyone was confused. The doctor didn't know. So, I'm definitely not the first time, hear it all the time. And, what I have experienced and seen from my experience and my research, by diving into these experiences, that we have profound agreements and we have guides. What we think are guides are actually ET family members. We have family members in the interdimensional realms that are guiding and working with us to preserve and to help us as a soul navigate this human life. And it's encoded in our DNA. We can look back at the ancestral and indigenous cultures that talk about connecting with the star people and how they would exchange information in order to learn new ways of self-healing, new healing technologies. There's stories, for example, Aymara stories of the indigenous people in the Aymara people. They used to connect to the Pleiadians, and the Pleiadians would create a circle of 8, a council of 8 that would provide recipes and information, teach them about plants on our own planet, and guide them into making medicines for their people. And these are stories that are passed down from these indigenous cultures for generations and generations, that we are still using these medicines that were passed down from the Pleiadians back in these original times. So I think that we have a long history of working with many species that are looking into our best interest.
How do we know the difference, though, between which ones are helping us and which ones aren't? Because so many times we have these experiences, and because we're not used to them, they scare us.
Yeah.
And they intimidate us. I know the one time that I was healed in February 2024.
Wow.
I was scared. I
Mhm.
knew when I came back and I opened my eyes when I was lying in bed, I knew they were right behind me.
Yeah.
And I was scared to turn over to look at them, petrified. And when I finally got the guts to do that, they blinked out. I saw the flash of bright white light and they were gone.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how do we know if it's for good or bad, or why are we so scared of it all?
Well, it's the unknown, and we are afraid of death, right? That's one of the core primitive and primordial fears that the human has, is the annihilation of ourselves, of the physical matter. And that is part of our journey, is to learn how to become friends with death, with the idea of death. Because in reality, and this is a scientific paper that was just published a couple of weeks ago about death being an illusion, very much an illusion, scientifically proven that death is an illusion, and that we or life in reality is an illusion. We don't really die. We are literally energy beings that are moving from one little pocket of meat, perhaps, into another little vessel in other dimensions. So, I think that these experiences help us understand that it is an initiation, it's a graduation of the human into the awareness of multidimensionality. And it's something, again, that so many ancient cultures talk about, that once we understand how multidimensional we are, our consciousness is part of a field that is interconnected to many species. We have in our DNA Pleiadian bloodlines, Arcturian bloodlines, and we can pull from that pool of information in the Akashic records to heal our bodies when we are ready, and when we are ready to take on that responsibility. Now, within these beings, there's always some kind of exchange, and that's something to be aware of. And that's usually what people fear, because we fear the unknown, because we lack self-knowledge. It's hard for us to discern the difference between a being that has a good intention and a bad intention. And this is something that we need to really kind of get our act together and start working on cultivating a discernment. And that's true for even the viruses of this world and the pharmaceutical industry of this world, right? In the same way that the pharmaceutical is capitalizing on our own self-healing ignorance, in the same way we can fall prey to parasites interdimensionally. So I think that the more that we learn about ourselves, cultivate our own trust in our intuition, we also expand our healing abilities. And part of our healing toolkit is the fact that we can connect to interdimensional beings that can provide healing for us. But there is an exchange of information that is there. We provide valuable information for them to grow, and they also grow through the healing of our bodies. Because we're interconnected through DNA. So it's in their best interest to heal us, and vice versa. It's the activation of DNA that occurs in these cases.
Is that all it's about? Is the activation of DNA, or do they actually have heartfelt feelings for us sometimes if we're connected to them, that if we are having an issue, that they will help us out?
I think in these higher dimensions, emotions are different than human emotions. When we think of emotions, we think of strong reactions and responses, and we use our emotional information to express and communicate. On this level, on these dimensional planes of these beings, which has been documented by thousands of contactees around the world, that whenever they start feeling fear or a certain emotion, it kind of tends to like pollute the space in which you're in some of these higher dimensional beings. In the lower dimensional beings, when you start to feel fear, it's almost like they feed off of that fear. They literally love it when you are in a state of fear, because it's so dense and rich, and they can exchange that energy and information. They feed off of that. That's a very real parasitic exchange. And so that model of understanding of how our emotional energy is exchanged and the value of that exchange helps us discern how we are interacting with them. So the higher dimensional beings are kind of looking at things from a much higher level, right? They're looking at the more bigger picture, the collective picture. Every human has a very unique purpose. They have a vibrational frequency. Their DNA is a signature. It's a blueprint of codex of memory, of multidimensional memory that the human activates through their life experiences in the waking state and in the dream state. And that's extremely valuable. So these beings that we begin to activate, this is the healings that are happening both ways. The human asks for that healing, and the beings also are interacting with that being, with the healing, and allowing that healing to occur. In some cases, some people don't receive healing because they have lessons to learn. They have to experience the illness. It's part of healing other cyclical traumas. It's kind of complex how this functions. But what we do know by these experiences and the research, we have a lot more participation in these healings than we think. And the thing is that we operate by a higher law, which is learning lessons on a much higher level. So I think these beings come to us when we are ready and when we need, because we have, for example, when I was sick, I had not even the slightest imagination that I would be talking about aliens in my adult life, not even the slightest imagination. So it's almost as if all of these life experiences prepared me to be able to hold space the way that I do. And all of you humans are the same, that have those context experiences. You all have a reason why you have these healings and these interactions.
Do you think, though, that they are setting this up, that it's a rule of law that they have to, like, say, if they've implanted us, that they have to watch over us to make sure things are good and that, in our mind, body, soul? Or is it something where maybe you've caught their attention and maybe it is something serious? Like for me, I had been having chest pains, not heart attack, but just chest pains on my left side. And when I woke up that night, and I was only sleeping for about 1 hour and 9 minutes, when I woke up that night knowing that I'd been taken, my chest on the left side had felt completely different. Completely different. It had like an ice, it was like a dot of about the size of a quarter that was ice cold on my chest. Have you ever had that?
Amazing. Not I've had a ice cold sensation intravenously, but not on one localized place. But yeah, interesting. And it was a healing. So did you consider that a healing, or did you consider that an attack?
I knew that I had been healed because the next morning when I got up that night, my chest was cold and I was shivering. Like I had been standing outside in minus 20-degree temperature with no coat on. Like I was teeth chattering, frozen, that I actually jumped in the shower to warm up. And I knew I wasn't sick because I didn't
Right.
feel sick.
Amazing.
Right.
Yep.
But I was just absolutely freezing cold. And then when I woke up in the morning, when my alarm went off at about 7:30, that's where I felt like the quarter-sized dot on my chest that was cold. And it was cold to touch. Like it felt cold internally. The rest of my body felt great, but that one spot. And I got really emotional over it because I knew that I'd been taken. I just didn't know they had healed me at that point. My chest has felt great since.
Wow. It's very interesting that you're telling me this. Over this last winter, I have had maybe a total of 12 of my students that have had a similar experience, Dave. They had this feeling of being chilling cold, icy cold, not a flu, not a fever of any kind. And then that was combined with a dream state of a contact or a sighting of an experience. But what we looked at in hypnotherapy is that they had indeed been taken and that they were experiencing, it's like the temperature dropped in their body because they had been moving in and out of a dimensional plane and the body was still adjusting. So it's not an illness, but it's very much like a post-contact side effect. So I'm very, very surprised to hear you talk about that. And it's interesting. Maybe this is I don't know, new thing.
Well, in that instance, and I thought I had told you this story, but in that instance, it had also hit my father as well.
Wow. I don't remember this story. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. My dad was there and I could tell it. Well, we got time. Do you want to hear the story?
Yeah, tell me, definitely.
Okay. So on this night, I went into a dream state as I fell asleep around 1 o'clock, and I go into my dream state, and uh, I am literally, um, in this dark alley with my dad, my cousin, and my best friend growing up through elementary and high school.
Mhm.
And we were in this dark alley, and I said, okay, guys, it's time to go. And for some reason, I'd put my cell phone on this staircase. And I've never owned one, but it was one of those old, like indestructible 1994 Nokia cell phones that you could literally drive over with a vehicle and it'll still pick
Yeah.
up. Yeah, one of those things. And you know that they're going to, find one of those in about 2,500 years, and it will still just take a charge and work. You know that's going to happen. But anyways, as I go to pick up the phone, I felt in my dream this, the typical gravitational pull where they're taking you. And I dropped the phone. I was like, oh God, here we go again. My typical reaction. Oh God, really? Again? I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And that's when I woke up in my bed. It was that I knew they were standing right behind me because I was laying on my left side and I knew they were right behind me. And I'm like, don't turn over. They're right there. Don't turn over. They're right there. And all of a sudden I remember getting mad at myself saying, this is what you do for a living. Stop telling yourself not to turn over. Look at them. Damn it, Dave. Look at them. This is what you do. You talk about this every day. And I'm having this debate in my head. And so I won. And I sheepishly, as slowly as possible, start to turn my head over my right shoulder. And that's where outside my window, which is behind me, I saw the flash of white light and their energy was gone. So my feet hit the ground because now I have to go to the bathroom. I've woken up. My feet hit the ground and immediately I get that absolutely bone-chilling
Wow.
freezing.
Interesting. Yep.
And I'm chattering. I go to the bathroom, and after
Wow.
I finished, the old number one there, my teeth started chattering, and like I couldn't control it. I was freezing cold. So I hopped in the shower, went back to bed, woke up the next morning, felt my chest was cold. Rest of my body felt great, except the left area where my chest had been hurting was cold. And I started actually crying because I knew.
Yeah.
I knew something spiritual had happened where I was taken care of because I was literally a day or two away from going to get this checked out at the doctor because I was starting to get scared that maybe my body was prepping for a heart attack or something. And that's what set me off was all of a sudden I felt great. So that morning, about 45 minutes later, I was on my way to work and I called my dad up and I said, just out of curiosity, because I knew he was there, I said, hey, Dad, how'd you sleep last night? And he goes, oh, I tossed and turned a little bit, woke up a couple times, but, not too bad. Why? I said, what time did you get up? He goes, well, it's 7:15 this morning. I said, no, what time did you get up in the middle of the night? He goes, oh, God, it was after 2 o'clock. I said, what, 2:05, 2:09? He goes, yeah, about there. Because I had checked my clock, and that's where, when I crawled back into bed, that's where I knew it was 2:09. I said, what woke you up? He goes, I heard something fall on the floor and go bang. But when I looked around this morning, I couldn't find anything that had fallen on the floor, so I don't know. But remember, in my dream, I dropped that cell phone, and it went bang.
Wow.
Okay, my dad lives 4.5 hours away from me, and he isn't into any of this. None of it.
Right.
So I said, well, how do you feel this morning? And my dad has a mild case of COPD. And he goes, to be honest, son, I feel great. He goes, this is the first morning in years I have not woken up hacking or wheezing.
Wow. That is amazing.
And I started laughing. He goes, what's with all the questions? And I just laughed. And I said, Dad, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I said, it's good to hear. And that's where I left the conversation. Never talked to him since about it.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of parallels with some of the experiences. So that's interesting. Yeah. Temperature changes and drops. Have you heard that before in the field from other people?
No. Well, I've heard it when spirit is around, like
Okay,
more on
right.
a paranormal side.
Right. Yeah.
Or even an ET side, there's a fluctuation in temperature, but I didn't know it happened on a physical level.
Exactly. That's what I find so interesting. And they all thought they had like pneumonia because they were like shivering, freezing cold, and they could not warm up for hours. And it was the weirdest thing. But then they didn't have fever, like it was no flu symptoms, nothing. And it would just be like a couple hours. That's it. Very strange. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it was gnarly. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
It was pretty gnarly. And to all of a sudden just be feeling good. It was very emotional.
Yeah.
Very emotional. And do a lot of the other people that you have dealt with this have that same emotional issue afterwards?
Very much so. Very much so. Because especially after doing hypnotherapy and regressing back to that moment where they begin to recover the memory, they remember being taken into chambers of light for healing. Those chambers of light, and actually 3 of these group talked about kind of chamber of light similar to that, where it's this big round crystalline room where they enter, and then this kind of rainbow light falls on them and they just float and they're healing there. Somehow it's healing. And then right when they leave that room, that's where the temperature drop happened. And all of a sudden, then they wake up back in the bed, and that's where they're kind of reconnecting with themselves. Another one described it that as soon as they got scared and they became lucid in the experience, it kind of interfered or interrupted what the healing that was occurring on board the craft. And that's when they started to feel the chill. So that does make sense, because a lot of times when the frequency drops, we're kind of in between dimensions. And I tend to see that a lot of these ET beings do not like it when we embody deep, deep fears. They do everything possible to eliminate that emotion or to control that environment. So, it's interesting.
Have you ever had that shivering experience yourself?
Yes.
And what happened to you at that point?
So for me, a beautiful UFO showed up at my window. I had communicated with it, and then I lost consciousness and went on board the craft and interacted with these beings, downloaded information. This is probably between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. 6 a.m, I wake up in my bed again, back in consciousness, freezing, chilling, like as if I had a fever. And really, really strange. And I was confused because I didn't link the two. This was before I actually talked to some of these other people, which is interesting. The answers always come through your work. And they also had similar. So I realized what was happening. And here's the thing, how I healed myself is that I would bring feelings of love into the body. I do this meditation called smiling organs, where I make my organs smile. Okay. I bring a lot of joy energy into the body. And that was the only thing that helped me regulate my nervous system after that, because I couldn't even stop. And my room was like 70 degrees, 75 degrees. I had a heater on. It was not cold, so it just really, really strange that happened. And what the insight was, that it was a shift in dimensional frequency. I will tell you privately, I know this is public, but as the first time I'm sharing this, is that I did notice that my intuition shifted after that day in the way that I was receiving information. So it was some kind of activation of some kind, definitely.
Hold that thought. Geraldine Orozco, the spiritual you, continues on Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. All right, Geraldine, we got about a 5.5 minute break. I'm going to pass this over to Dirty Filth and we'll be right back, okay?
Yes.
All right, Dirty Filth, it's all yours.
It's all mine, Dave.
All yours.
All right. Yeah, everybody, we're going for ice cream, and Dave already gave me his credit card, so we're good to go, everybody. Pile into the wagon. Taking a horse-drawn wagon. It's actually a bunch of nightmares. So yeah, that'll be cool. Actually, you know what? We can't do that because the flames from the nightmares will melt the they'll melt the ice cream. So we're not doing that. Nightmares will be for when we go to the ball later on. Anyways, here we have. Oh, let me give him a little boosty here. Sorry, I had intruders and cats and all over the place going on here. Let's put that right over top of there. Ooh, meanwhile, at the sideshow, we have Dirty Filth in Fox Vegas creating more madness. Drawing's not actually complete yet. I have a little bit more detail to draw in. So you just have to stick around and follow me on all the old social media things. Filth or Filthy with a Y, as usual. However, there are rumors that there's a fourth plushie that may be available. It may be Fabrice. And he's looking to take care of the boys, Carl Stanton and Alan, because they're always out of control. So let's finish this off here. So, got Dirty Filth. And on top of this table here, as you can see, there is ethically sourced alien, Sasquatch, goblin, gnome, dogman, mothman, and reptilian parts. No, Jim, I was there the year before. Jim, I'm 1,000,000% going the next time. I've already sold 3 of my donkeys to pay for the ride there. Or if you could just steal the SR-71 and fly over to the Edmonton International Airport and pick me up, then we'll be good. Either way, Dave was saying you got to come on the show next week or in a couple weeks or something. I got a stack of drawings to give to you. I mean, you probably got some space in your house that could use some cartoons from Dirty Filth. I have 13 donkeys, Hillbilly Herb. Actually, one is a mule. His name is Iscaro Pust. Oh, okay. Yeah, good, Jim. Well, I'll be on Monday, too. I'll see you then. We'll hijack the show from Dave. Anyways, look at this. Look at this beautiful contraption here. Dave doesn't know, but we're hijacking the show on Monday. It's going to be Spaced Out Radio with Jim Goodall and Dirty Filth, and the special guest is going to be Dave Scott. Hi, Fast Hammy. Anyways, we have Fabrice here and a possible cat jumping up. Of course, there's a cat. There's 1,000 of them. All right, come on. Here we go. Jeez. He's orange, everybody, so you have to give him a second here to figure himself out. Well, the secret's out. Fabrice has to find a new home. Then he's probably going to have to borrow your vehicle, and he's going to have to pick up his boys because they crashed their UFO in, I don't know, New Mexico desert. Can't really talk about it too much. All those NDAs and things like that. Yeah, there he is. Oh, good gods. Yes, make sure you like and subscribe and support your local animal shelter as well. Yeah. Look at this thing. Oh, yeah, I guess it doesn't work anymore. Unbelievable. What an absolute pile of madness. You may adopt a stuffed animal that was stabbed by a gremlin.
What do you say, Dirty?
Dave, Jim's coming on next Monday. We're hijacking
Is
the
he?
show from you. Yeah. Have a good night.
There we are. Dirty Filth, good night to you. We got Geraldine coming up here. And we got 15 seconds. Thank you to CS and Kitty Cattywhack for the super chats. Appreciate the love. Yeah, Monday night, Jim. Monday night. We need you here. We got to tell the story here. Here we go. It's hour number 2 of Space Out Radio. Yeah, we're going to have some fun tonight. We got Geraldine Orozco coming in for hour number 2 on the Spiritual You, and we'll bring her in momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lambative. Lambative is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website where Geraldine comes on monthly for the Spiritual You. And tonight we are talking about a weird topic because we like to get weird with Geraldine. Alien healings of humans. Now, this may sound surprising for many of you, but apparently it happens, and it happens frequently. Geraldine, thank you for coming on in.
Thank you so much, Dave. Amazing topic.
You mentioned in the last half hour that it could be due to DNA. What would cause them to use our DNA to heal us?
It's not so much that they're using the DNA to heal us, but it's through the DNA that we connect to certain species. See, DNA functions like a holographic blueprint from which our physical body is projected. And 2% of that DNA is writing all the protein, and the rest of that DNA is interacting with our etheric realms. The astral realms, the Akashic realms are all being processed. All the experiences that we're having are processing through the holographic DNA. So instead of talking about junk DNA, I call it holographic DNA, because in reality, even though our modern day biologists are not able to link and actually meticulously show how the DNA is affecting this non-protein writing DNA is affecting our physical body. There are etheric processes that are very much taking place, and that's what we call the morphogenetic field. So the morphogenetic field is essentially our energy body. It's within this energy body that is not a stagnant, stable thing. It is constantly moving. We are moving with it in and out of many dimensions. And so the DNA processes that dimensional movement. When we go into dream state and we leave our bodies, we enter into these dimensions through the chakra system, which function like portals. So depending on our vibrational frequency, depending on every part of our body participates in defining where we are able to navigate, who we are able to interact with, and our potential in these realms. So the healing really takes place when we are ready to activate that aspect of our DNA. That aspect of our DNA is activated. A lot of these illness happens when we drop in frequency from where we should be. So illness happens when we drop out of alignment. And this alignment, there's many alignments that we align to. One being the Schumann resonance of the earth. That's one drop in frequency. If we disconnect from nature for too long, we disconnect from the frequency of the earth. The earth holds other DNA. DNA of the earth is basically the Akashic record, your earth lives, your past life, your ancestral history, which is all defining the kind of illnesses that you're having and what you have access in your genes. So all of these little gene codes are turning on and off depending on the environment that you provide in your body. But this also affects interdimensionally. So when you reach a very low state in frequency, it activates the memory of the survival mechanism of this etheric body. And we can connect and access. A lot of people describe seeing angels when they are near death, or ET beings near death. These kinds of experiences are an example of how we activate these kinds of emergency connection systems to our higher aspects of ourselves. So we can connect to this. So in our DNA, we have encoded many of these kinds of starseed bloodlines. Many of you have Arcturian, Pleiadian, reptilian, many different kinds of DNAs. And you are navigating those through the morphogenetic field. Every night that you go into dream state, you're navigating into those dimensions. So when we get sick, we get to access the pool of information that makes these contractual agreements, these limiting belief systems open up. And we are not healing our physical body only. We are healing generations of this kind of trauma. Every time that you catch a cold, it's not, and I know this sounds kind of crazy, that we're talking about a cold in this way, but the biological, psychological patterns that we embody in order to develop a cold or a simple flu is connected to emotional patterns that we inherit generationally. So it's encoded in our body the way that we heal. When we neglect the connection to the earth, the connection to our higher self, the connection to the cosmos in a very long time, we become extremely ill. And this is not working for the collective because we're very interconnected. So through our DNA, it's like we call forth these species to communicate with us, to work with us, to heal the bloodline, and remind us where we fell asleep, where we dropped in frequency in order to come back into healing. And so as we come back into a healing state, our physical body begins to recover. And normally people that have these kinds of ET healings, they activate a lot more abilities, a lot more memory of who they are. So, it serves the collective that we heal ourselves because we have a purpose. Our purpose is many things. We are healing many things simultaneously. Just by existing, we heal many things. So this is a knowledge that these species know. It's encoded in us, and it's just something that we're remembering.
Is this implanted in us that these events are going to happen? Or do they happen because of what we do to our bodies, our shells on a daily basis? Whether it's living in a polluted area, whether it's eating wrong, whether it's smoking or drinking or using narcotics or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
How does that affect what we do with our DNA?
Absolutely. Epigenetically, we are either contributing to life or death in our body. It could be a slow death through an illness, slowly deteriorating our DNA by eating sugar or not sleeping enough. We slowly deteriorate DNA. And, it's interesting because when you go deep into the rabbit hole of this information, in reality, a lot of the things that participate in the deterioration of our DNA are things that are indoctrinated within us to pull us away from nature. It can be everything from technology to pharmaceuticals to fake foods, chemicals that we are putting on our body, ingesting every day that deteriorate the DNA. It's a very silent eugenics program. And I've talked about this a couple times in the past, but our DNA is one of the most valuable substances in this universe because it is the portal to many universes. And these darker shadow beings do know that, and they parasite off of that. So illness happens a couple ways. Epigenetically, how we sustain a homeostasis in our body, as you mentioned, that we're eating things, doing bad things. But also there's another higher agreement for very severe illnesses that is actually ancestral. And those are gene codes that are encoded in the memory of our body that, as a result of our repeated programming that we inherit from our ancestry, we bring back online. And there are sometimes cancer that, for example, passes down generation. What are you passing down? Programs, belief system, emotional patterns, how you can hold and feel and process your emotions, all participate in sustaining an environment for the illness to come online. Illness is not something that's genetic. Epigenetically, we create the environment for that in our body. So again, we do have the blueprint of the illness in our DNA, but we have, most importantly, the free will to know that and to know how to create an environment of healing and sustainability in our body. That's what these aliens, interdimensional beings, are here to remind us. Those that are healing us are trying to pull us out of this, drowning in our own disconnect, to remind us who we really are. And they advocate for the bloodline which exists within us, which is a lineage of wisdom that we anchor into this collective.
No, I can see that, and I can appreciate that. However, do we not have a say on what aligns with the ETs? Do we not have a say of what they can and cannot do to us, whether it is healing or whether it's others?
Yes, we absolutely do. The thing is that we don't remember because time is not linear. Time is a spherical model. Many of the contact experiences that we're having are actually happening in the past or the future. We feel it now, we remember it now, we recall it now, but a lot of these experiences are not actually happening in our human timeline. This is a very difficult topic for a lot of people to understand, but we have many fractals of ourselves. When we leave our body, we go beyond time and space to enter into other dimensions in which we're existing. Many of us are living simultaneous lives in the Pleiades, in the Arcturus, in Mars. We're living many simultaneous lives. And when we transfer our awareness to that embodied consciousness of that fractal of ourselves, that's where we recover the memory of what we're experiencing. So, for example, we made these agreements to experience illness within ourselves. We make those agreements with ourselves first and foremost, based on our level of awareness and how much free will we're willing to take responsibility for. Because the majority of us, we are afraid to take responsibility for our free will. We're afraid of death, we're afraid of cause and effect, and those things intimidate us. So the more that we come into our connection and authenticity and really take responsibility for our creation, that's part of the human learning process, we begin to wake up consciousness in all these dimensions that we're making these kind of agreements. When we enter lower states of consciousness, we make a lot of parasitic agreements. And that's when we start to remember sexual abuse, physical abuse, disconnects, like a lot of trauma. And that's part of the growth of a human experience. All of it is valuable and all of it helps us grow. If we get stuck in trauma, we are blocking ourselves. We're living in denial of the bigger picture of things. So that's something that we have to work through as a human race.
I'm a little surprised to hear you say that that it is this conflict that goes on. It is this argument that we do not feel comfortable with it. We are scared of the possibilities, scared of the possibilities of death, scared of the possibilities of contact, scared of the possibilities of what is truly going on beyond what we see in our three-dimensional realm. Uh, the mind just seems so much more powerful than that it should be a little bit more accepting of what is truly out there, don't you think?
Well, we have to look at ourselves. We have, our belief systems are so powerful. If we have a tiny little doubt in ourselves, you don't understand the result of that. It affects your ability to heal yourself, to change your life, to manifest, bioelectrically attract beings, people, places, and things that are in alignment with a higher octave life. That's how deep those belief systems affect us. We don't realize that. So for the majority of us, we tend to externalize our power. We give away our power to a god or someone more wise, or maybe even an ET being that we think is more advanced than us. And a lot of us, we're afraid of taking responsibility because our creative power is really, really powerful. But most humanity, we are in a hypnosis where we don't remember that. If we did know that, the political system around the world would not be where it is today. And that's something that is being very, very carefully guarded and socially engineered in our human race. And it's a double-edged sword. Part of that is because we need to mature enough to understand the responsibility behind our creation. The other side of that is that, as we wake up consciousness, we begin to understand where we need to disconnect from things that are parasitic inside and out. So yes, we are afraid. We are afraid of our power. And the invitation is that as we learn to love truly ourselves deeply, we more compassionately experience the good and the bad, no longer categorizing. We categorize everything, good and bad, nice, bad, scary, not scary. We have a very, very myopic, compartmentalized perceptions of things. And that is very far from the truth. The more we go into and expanding our mind, this is where we can kind of go beyond our limiting perceptions into ET contact, healing, our healing potential of our own body. We can heal our bodies. That right there is essential information that we need to develop in our own selves.
Should we be delving into that though?
Absolutely.
Is that part of the human construct? It's like part of the concept of evolving?
Well, we just have to look at where the money is going in our current world. The pharmaceutical industry is the largest economic portion of the world. That is insane. The fact that not the cures, but the sustaining of illnesses and the symptoms of illnesses are managed in the world. What causes illness is a disconnect from the self, emotional dysregulation, all of these very core basic fundamentals of the human that we have been indoctrinated away from are the reason for illness, sickness, weakness, disempowerment, fear in the planet. So if we begin to realize that and take back the creative power into healing ourselves, there will be entire industries that will change on this planet. And that is what's happening now and now what will be the future. But we need to go beyond our fears and our doubts of ourselves in order to cultivate those abilities. And kind of remember indigenous cultures that were very connected to nature, and we're able to do these things. Now we have an upper hand because we have technologies that can support us. If we use these technologies in a positive manner, we can merge our very powerful organic technology with this to support a new kind of way of existing. So that's something that is coming for humanity very, very clearly.
Let's get to some audience questions. Let's start off with Fast Hemi, who is asking, what about healing the mind?
Yeah, that's the foundation of everything, Fast Hemi. Basically, our mind, which is what is producing, it's usually processing repeated programs, usually survival programs. So once we can kind of learn to regulate the nervous system and override those survival programs, those very primitive survival programs, we can master other parts of our body, our intuition, our self-healing ability, self-regulation. That's the foundation of having clear intuition and discernment. So the mind is at the core foundation of all of this. Thank you for bringing that up. Also, it's the apparatus in which we are interacting with interdimensional consciousness. Without the mind, we cannot speak telepathically. We cannot communicate. We cannot interact and process different frequencies from other dimensions. So we have to preserve and take care of the quality of our mind by the things that we eat, the things that we watch and hear also. So, yeah, thank you.
Comment and a question from Amanda. She says, please tell Geraldine she is beautiful. Holy cow, beautiful.
Thank you,
Yes.
Amanda. Love you. Thank you so much. You too.
And her question is, Geraldine, do you think people's blood types have anything to do with your frequency you send out?
Yes, absolutely. Our blood type has a lot to do with our ancestral programs, what we're here to do, our contribution, and a lot to do with how we hold health in our body as well. Every part of our body participates in creating our vibrational frequency. That's something that we have to understand. Every organ, the way that you treat the organ, the way that you intoxicate the organ or you heal the organ, participates in your signature frequency. And it also defines how you leave your body at night. If you have a sick, let's say a liver that is intoxicated and having a lot of trouble, when you leave at night, it's going to be very difficult for you to enter into higher dimensions because we kind of have like an energetic cord that connects us to all the bodies, right? And so it lowers the frequency of how you are navigating these dimensional realms. That's why it's so important to heal. But if you learn how to exercise astral projection, you can enter into these dimensions and learn how to heal yourself. Like we're talking about ET healings, that's one way of doing it through an entire orchestration of an ET, but you can also channel healing into your body. Thank you for that question.
All right, let's move into another question here. Let's go to Acreon as we got about 2 minutes left. There will be more public live self-love Sundays. Wondering, as you said at the beginning, you're going to focus in PV. That's very grateful to be able to learn all of your teaching.
Thank you so much. What is PV?
I would assume I don't know what PV is.
Focus in PV, like Peru or Puerto Vallarta? I don't know. Can you clarify, Acreon? Thank you so much. It's so great to see you here.
Yeah, we'll get him to clarify that. Let's see if we can sneak one more in there.
Okay.
Let's go to the Michael Leger. How can I get to communicate with ETs?
Yeah, so basically our intuition is the first thing. And I invite you to train intuition every moment of your day, from what you're eating to where you're going and why. Practice that intuition. And that's kind of scary because you have to learn how to trust yourself. That is the first step. Then the second step is to learn how to become lucid, practice lucidity. The practice of lucidity in your dream state will allow you to recover memory of your dreams. And as you clean up your energy body in order to become lucid, to become more presently embodied in the present moment, you'll begin to recover and speak the language of frequency, because you can, when you're in the present moment, you're aware of your surroundings, you're aware of what you're intercommunicating with. That is the key to speaking with higher dimensional consciousness. This bleeds into your dream state, and you begin to recover because your frequency has elevated to a higher octave. I call it the 0 point, and the 0 point is the neutral point of observation. The more that we can cultivate that through techniques like Vipassana meditation, for example, elevating all the lower frequency emotions in your body, cleaning up the chakra bodies, and connecting with these higher frequencies. I'll tell you more.
More Geraldine Orozco coming up on Space Now.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave
Scott. We'll continue with that when we come back.
Yeah.
Got that
Awesome.
cleared up
Excellent
with. So
question.
I'll leave that question up there.
Yes.
Seymour Glass, how you doing? Let's see here. Adam B, how you doing? Let's see. Okay, we're caught up there. I'm having fun tonight.
Yeah. This is a fun conversation. Me too.
Rexamillions, how you doing? It's always good when we have you on the show.
Thank you, Dave. Same. Is that it for your travel this year? Or are you going to go somewhere else?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. May, how you doing? There might be one more event coming up. We're supposed to do one locally here in June. I don't know if I will. I don't know what's going on with that yet.
How was your forest thing?
We start in 2 weekends from now.
Oh, okay. So we'll hear next month.
Yeah. Boondock, how are you doing? Yeah, we're next weekend or this coming weekend is gear prepping.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following weekend is where we make the trek. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little intimidated.
I know. You told me. You got to put your energy body, Dave. Come on, energetic hygiene.
Oh, we will. I'll put it out there. I just know that there is something cool going to happen. I don't know what, but
yeah, that's good.
You should come up there.
That would be beautiful in the summer.
You want to come August, September, because it's a little colder at night, but there's no bugs.
Yeah, I would come definitely.
The bugs stay away. No likey the bugs.
Okay.
Yeah. I think seeing you in that spot, I'd be really interested to see how you react to it or how the spot even reacts to you.
Yeah, interesting. No, there are very dark places in nature. This weekend, I was hiking in this area and all the trees were broken. It was the weirdest thing. Like, it was a very protected part of the mountain, so it's not like there was wind or fire or anything. All the trees were just destroyed. You can just really feel the energy when you walk into that place shifted as if you're moving into jello. And then when you pass through the other side, the energy changes again. So yeah, there are very dark places in nature for sure.
This part is very intimidating.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
But chances are you're going there to clean things up, I think, because you have a lot of connection to that land. So, that's usually
I think though that it's as like Tim and I were talking as we're going in, we know the cause was the plane crash. But the effect of all the high strangeness around there now is what we have to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to cover the plane crash. That's irrelevant to what is truly going on there.
Yeah.
Or maybe it isn't. I
It
don't
would
know.
be so
Yes,
cool.
maybe we are taking questions. Sorry, Geraldine.
No, sorry. It would be so interesting to have one of those drones with the heat sensors. I don't know if that's allowed in that area, but I've seen a lot of people have advanced technologies and research been able groundbreaking with those drones.
We're going to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Thank you tonight to Kitty Kennewack and CS for our great super chats tonight. Appreciate the love and support. 52 people. Michael Leger. And here we go. Kick off the second half of Space we call Earth. Hey, reminder to all of you that if you missed portion of this show or others, you can always check out our free archive on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Geraldine Orozco, we have her till the top of the hour, and we are having a great time. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. We are taking questions from our audience. So, Geraldine, thank you for being here, and we got some good questions for you coming on up here.
Yes. And should we finish the last one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So the question was from the Michael Leger. How can I get to communicate with ETs? Now, This is something I know you recommend trying, put it out there. But there has to be a word of caution on that, don't you think? With, be very careful with who you're calling in rather than just saying, I don't care who it is. Just some aliens talk to me. Come see me. Because you might call down the wrong people or the wrong species.
Well, I'm kind of like the mom that says, go and fall and learn what it feels like to fall and get back up again, because honestly, those kinds of lessons are inevitable for us. And we need to build resilience for what's coming in the future. Contact is going to be inevitable. We need to prepare ourselves for seeing something outside of the human form. So I am very much an advocate of being brave in these dimensional realms. However, I do agree with be careful how you call and be careful what you wish for from where you're coming from, because everything is based on resonance. If you are fearful, if you doubt yourself, if you hate others in some way or have some kind of weird emotions against separating concepts, you are going to be attracting similar parasitic consciousness. So yes, you will. Everything is a mirror of ourselves. However, that's why a lot of CE5 protocols, for example, and we know now we have millions of experiencers that have now talked about contact and the nature of contact based in your emotional regulation. When you expand your heart, when you embody love, that's really when you get to connect with high dimensional beings and interact with them. So number one protection is unconditional love. And that starts in your own internal shadow work at home, when you're meditating daily, doing your daily work, so that when you connect with these beings and you embody love, that's when you're really going to see them. And in my experience leading CE5s, when I get the crowd to embody and say a mantra like Om, that's when we get the majority of the crazy action. I mean, we have had sightings of UFOs, the sky lighting up, formations. I mean, we've experienced all of that. And, it's not something that you need to imagine, something that is available to you when you connect to your higher self. So love is the key. And I will reference that interview that was done. Oh, I wish I could remember his name, but it's that by Coulthard. But Coulthard did this interview with one of the whistleblowers that talked about the orb, the white orb that he connected with and felt this emotional feeling of love, and his mother when he was connecting with the orb. That is exactly what happens and how we connect with these higher dimensional beings. So yeah, last word of caution to put out there.
All right, let's rock and roll into our next question. This one comes from Jason. Geraldine, when you went to the cathedral in Barcelona, Spain, did they have a tour describing the esoteric symbols?
Oh my God, this cathedral in Barcelona is the Sagrada Familia. I have never been so shocked in my entire life. It was an alien that built that, and it was an alien structure. I mean, it was shocking. It was just amazing. The esoteric symbolism is so profound. No, there is not a tour for that because again, it's a Catholic establishment. There is an artistic tour that does take you, and sometimes they're willing to go a little bit beyond those guidelines of the Catholic Church. But I highly recommend everyone to visit that.
All right, let's go over to Seymour here. Have the faith to trust it. You were talking about faith and trust earlier.
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your internal guidance. I'm actually hosting a group hypnosis healing on Monday, the 12th, to heal the divine oracle within, which is exactly about this. Because, you know, a lot of times we hear the internal voice, but we doubt it. We don't trust it. We're afraid of it. We need to heal that like ASAP as a human race, because the changes that are going to come are going to disrupt the norm. We need to learn how to discern very quickly in order to navigate the changes that are coming. So what we want to do, and I don't really talk too much about faith because when we talk about faith, we somehow tend to put our belief and our energy external to us, unless that faith is completely directed towards yourself. And we create actions with integrity and follow the core values. We have to get to know our core values and ethics. If we align with the core values and ethics in our actions, in our relationships, in our everyday life, this is how you build trust with yourself. But we need to first create those core ethical laws for ourselves. And the invitation is that the ones that you choose are in alignment with nature, with harmony, with all things, not just self-serving, because then you're going to go down the wrong path and suffer. The invitation is that you connect with a more holistic understanding of ethical laws for yourself. And that is how you build trust very deeply with your intuition, not only in this dimension, in many dimensions, because these are the laws that are, cross interdimensionally.
All right, let's move on to Jason again. Are men part of the hybrid program? Condensed explanation is okay.
Yes, absolutely. Many men are part of the hybridization program. I hate to use the word program. It's not really a program as much as it is part of the creations of souls. And there are parasitic entities that create souls. They are using your biological information to do that. And you do participate in that decision at some point in other lifetimes. So the short answer is yes, very much so.
Yes. Because you can't have one without the other. Let's just be honest.
That's right.
That's just the way it goes.
Yes.
They can't get the full DNA that they need without a little Barry White romance time up on the spacecraft. That's for sure. Let's move on. Let's go to another question here. This one comes from Grant and his beautiful mustache.
Oh.
Have you ever visited Shasta County?
Yes, I love Shasta. I held a couple of retreats up there, and I hope to go this summer for sure. Yes.
What do you like about it up there?
If we're going to really talk about Shasta, I have a lot of mixed opinions about Shasta, okay? I believe that there's a lot of underground activity. I have been to many portals up on the mountain, and they were some of the most vivid and physical interportal activity I've ever had. I was taken into underground tunnels into the earth, and I experienced that there in Shasta, unlike any other place. So I know there's a lot of interdimensional, but I also think there's a lot of government presence there as well that I do feel, and military presence that is there. So it's a very interesting mix of opposing energies, all because it is a powerful vortex center. So it just speaks to how powerful and important these energy centers in the world are, and they are being utilized in many ways. So hopefully when we go there, we contribute to the light that we're bringing in through those portals.
Let's go back to Jason here. Oh, I asked that question already. Let's go to this question from Jason. Oh, I asked that one. Man, what am I doing? I'm forgetting to erase these. Let's go to Creepypasta. Is there anything in particular I can be doing before bed to help with becoming lucid?
Absolutely. So every night, okay, so I actually teach an entire class. I'm going to try to condense this. So every night before you go to bed, you're going to tell yourself that you're going to be conscious. So you're going to say, where am I right now? Who am I with? Who am I? What am I doing? You're going to train yourself to ask those questions like 50 times a day. Okay. I have a little alarm clock. What I used when I first started doing this. That brings you really in your body. When you do this, let's say a week, by the time you have your dream state, it'll begin to bleed into your dream state. You're also going to set an alarm 3 hours after you fall asleep. And you're going to wake up and you're going to, again, ask yourself, where am I? What am I doing? If you do this every night for 30 nights, you will be lucid in your dream state. The next step in the advanced level is to work with your energy centers, cleaning your energy body. Every night, I invite you to clean your energetic body before you even start becoming lucid in dream state, because you interact with your memory is going to remember a lot. That's a good way to put it. So energetic hygiene is essential. Learn how to manage your emotions. Come into love. Fill your body with love. And in the mornings, when you start feeling the sensation of falling as you're leaving the body into astral projection, train yourself to literally fall off the bed a couple times, put some pillows, so that you can start to feel comfortable with that sensation. Okay. A lot of people, when they feel that, they wake themselves back up and then they interrupt their navigation. So the training of these sensory bodies is going to help you become more lucid in your dream. And you're going to begin to ask yourself in your dream, is this a dream? You'll just wake up consciousness all of a sudden in between a dream. And I invite you to do something to like a marker that will show you whether you're asleep or awake. You can pinch yourself. You can, in the Inception movie, they use the dreidel, right? So create a little marker symbol that will help you identify the difference between a dream state and a waking state. You will realize that they were kind of the same in different frequencies eventually. But these are some tools that you can use, Creepypasta. And I do have an entire course that you can check out on my website for this. Okay. Yeah.
I love it. Let's go to another question here. Let's go to May May. She has like a bunch of questions. She's numbered them for us.
Yay.
Question 1. Have you met beings that look like the galaxy system, like a personified body, and what they are like?
Absolutely. Some of the most beautiful beings I've ever seen. Translucent bodies that look like they have entire galaxies within the head, within the bodies. Beautiful beings. The less form a being has, the higher the dimensional frequency they come from. The higher the dimension they come from. The more physical, more humanoid they are, the lower the frequencies they come from. Okay. I'll stop it there because there's more I could say, but.
Well, we got time.
Well, then we got to talk about the whole projection of the screen images. So going beyond that, not talking about screen images of beings, usually these beings that are galaxy-like systems, they come from very high dimensional planes. And their purpose is to teach you consciousness on another level, compassion on a much higher level. I remember that was the conversation they mostly had with me, was to shifting my perception about compassion, like very, very broad collective compassion. So I'd love to hear your story sometime, maybe. Thank you.
All right. Question 2. What are your experiences with vampire and clown type beings?
Yeah, so there definitely are vampires in our realm, which, you know, they are parasitic beings. Clown-like beings, I haven't had a lot, but I do remember having a fear of clowns that was linked to ET contact, because there were some experiences where they pretended they were clowns. I did find the connection between clowns and military abductions, though, because that was kind of part of their chemical injections that would create hallucinations of clowns. And I have heard that in my lab experiencers. Um, Vampires, there are vampires in our realm, and they do experience. These are low frequency, kind of cryptid type of beings that exist on this planet Earth, that are not all the way from Hollywood to government spaces, people that do feed off our blood. And I have seen and encountered these beings myself as well. So yeah, the more parasitic, try to go into a higher octave. Yeah.
We're going to make the run on this. Let's go to number 3 from May May. What are your experience with the Tartarians, Scythian beings?
Yeah, I don't really know too much about these beings, to be honest with you. I haven't really read too much into them. So yeah, not much to say.
All right, let's continue on and go to question 4. What are your interactions with sky creatures?
Sky creatures, it really depends what you're talking about. They're aliens, ETs, interdimensional spirits, you name it. Elementals, for perhaps, cloud beings, weather beings. There are many kinds of beings that surround us all the time. So I've had many interactions with them. But if you have a more specific question, please reach out to me. Maybe I can help you with that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think the big thing with the beings from the sky is,
Uh-huh.
just trying to figure out who they are and what their intentions are. I think
Okay.
intention has a lot to do with whatever the being is, because you're going to know right off the bat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hopefully, hopefully you can discern what exactly is happening. A technique that I use is I shine my crown light and I ask to see the contract. If there is no contract, it's parasitic. If there's a small contract, it's not the best intention. If it's a big contract, we have work to do, and we agreed to that work. So you can kind of eliminate the contracts or block and cut cords with the beings that you're interacting with very proactively in this way. That's something that I use. Maybe it helps.
All right, let's go to Seymour. What gives someone faith the information they have channeled can be trusted? I've attempted it only once. I'm just weary of its validity.
100%. And in my humble opinion, what I have learned is that we know nothing. We know nothing. We cannot barely even admit to know something, because the more, the higher the dimensions I would explore, the more I realized how limited our perceptions become as soon as we become sure of something. So I really tried to give as much of a broad perspective as possible, because the broader you go, the more closer to collective truth you could possibly be. But really, the truth is, when you enter into other dimensions, you have to expand your perception even more again. So I believe the invitation is not necessarily to find solid, finite concepts, but train ourselves to be fluid through our understanding, to broaden our nervous system, to regulate our nervous system enough so that we can broaden our perception beyond limiting belief systems. That's a whole life job in itself. And it's also the definition of love. When you learn how to love yourself unconditionally, you begin to see all things as an extension of yourself. And it helps you maintain a neutral perception. This is something that helps you see truth from a higher level. I really try to look by the laws of nature, much larger concepts, and harmony. What I've learned is when I see disharmony, that's when I know that things are kind of in a more parasitic direction. When I can recognize harmony, that's when I can see that things are more in a constructive. And this is something that you learn through your own internal work. You are either centripetal, where you become a magnetic force of creation, or you are centrifugal, where you deplete your energy and you give away your power. So these are things that we kind of have to start identifying in the way that we speak to ourselves, in our actions, in our dream states. Begin to recognize those, and that's how you will be able to understand. Don't ever block your channeling. Allow the channeling to come through. There's channelings I've done many years ago that I have grown from those concepts very much now, but they had to come through. It's almost like cleaning, a drain of a house. You have to clean the leaves in order for the water to flow. So that's what we're doing. That's the human experience. So don't focus on being right or wrong. Focus on experiencing and growing through that evolution of right and wrong. Okay? That's all I can share with you.
I'd like to add just something about
Yeah.
that, because believe it or not, I was actually having that same conversation yesterday when I was driving home from Vegas with Tim James, my UFO reporter, and we were talking about intuition and information and channeling and all that. You have to learn to trust the first thought that comes in your head, because the second thought is always one where your mind says on the first thought, that can't be it. It's got to be something more rational. And you know what? To give an example, when I was in Vegas, I knew I don't play roulette, but I wanted to put $20 down just to see what would happen, red or black. I knew it was going to go red, but my mind still chose black. And what came up? Red. And I knew
Yeah.
it was going to happen. I knew it.
Yeah.
But I mistrusted that first initial thought that had already told me the answer to what color it was going to be. And every time you mistrust that, you're going to lose that connection. And the more you could trust that first thought, that first intuition, that first sighting where you think you saw something, but then you look over there and there's nothing there and you thought, oh, it might be my imagination. No, it was there.
Yeah.
Whatever you saw, whether it was an alien, a UFO, a ghost, it was there. But there
Well,
just happened so quickly that if you don't pay attention to that first thought, that first inclination, oh, that's what I just saw, or that's what I just heard, then you'll never be able to find that energy or that path to channeling or intuition.
100%. Thank you for that. That was incredible.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
Final question of the night is we've got about 90 seconds. Christine is asking, Geraldine, what crystals or stones do you recommend or like?
My favorite is moldavite. It will kick you in the butt energetically and get you moving spiritually. And I've learned that lesson many times. If you don't resonate, you'll get a headache. I've with every single student, it has happened. So play around with that one. That is my favorite.
What's your second favorite?
Second favorite, oh gosh, I think aquamarine. Aquamarine. It's a
Okay.
very powerful. Yeah.
So here's my follow-up to that. So we got
Yes.
about a minute to go. I don't know what any gems are. I couldn't tell you the names of any of them, but I do know that if it resonates with me, I use it. How do I know what the benefits are if I don't study up on them?
Honestly, I use my intuition and I let the stone tell me. I know that sounds interesting, but stones speak to us, and also we're attracted to the ones that we need. Learn color theory. Every single color will help you understand which chakra needs support, and each rock that has a color is connecting to a chakra. So the rainbow spectrum, it tells you the frequency range of the rock, which can give you an insight as to what those rocks are going to be good for. That's a basic level. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you again, Geraldine, for coming on Spaced Out Radio. We will talk to you in the beautiful month of June. Geraldine's website, GeraldineOrozco.com, and the spiritual you, of course. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller and Robin Haynes. Get your questions ready for your YouTube channel. We'll be back.
listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
You were amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Much love. See you soon. Thank you so much for everything.
Now I get to go see if the bear is out there.
Yay, bear hugs.
Yeah.
Please
That's
be
always
safe.
nice. All
Please
right. Take
be
care, my
safe.
dear. We'll talk soon, okay?
Bye.
Bye-bye. Love me some Geraldine Orozco. She's amazing. I'll be right back, everybody. All right. There's Robin Haynes. Let's bring her on quickly. Hi, Robin.
Hey guys, how are ya?
Good. How are you, beautiful?
I am doing good. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for asking. It's good to see you.
Yeah, wish we were all back in Nebraska having fun.
Right.
I think I could have done that for a few more days.
Oh, me too. Could have done Vegas for a few more days too.
Oh, it looked like you were having a blast.
We were having just a complete blast. Complete blast. If you have questions for Robin, coming up now is the time to ask those questions if you're in our YouTube chat. And put them in capital letters, please. Anything to do with monsters and monsters only. All right. I did gamble away all the SOR money. Thank you to CS and Kitty Catty Whack. And Robin, I'm going to put you back in the green room. We'll be right back. But first, I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lambative. Lambative is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. In 2010, when I was in much better shape than I am now, I hiked the Pinnacle Trail at Table Rock State Park in South Carolina. I was the only one on the mountain in early April, and early in the day, the trail reaches to the top. It took me about 2 hours to get to the top. It was beautiful, and I rested up there for a bit. I had a snack and some water, and then, after some time, I decided to head back down. I was about 30 minutes from the entrance when I noticed I didn't hear a single sound. Nothing at all. I stopped dead in my tracks. There was no wind, no bugs, birds, running water, absolutely nothing. It was like I was in the vacuum of absolute sound being taken away. For context, there is running water and streams all around the trail, and they're usually easily heard and very loud. I tapped my ear with my finger to see if I could still hear, and I could. I looked around, blinking and thinking, what the heck? I guess it's like what a bug feels like when you trap it in a glass jar. Then, out of nowhere, like a baseball hitting you in the face, the smell hit me. Having raised many hunting dogs and pets when I was younger, it was like a doghouse bed that hadn't been cleaned in quite a while, except it was 10 times more pungent. I almost became sick. There was something there. There was no doubt in my mind, but it stayed hidden. I looked around everywhere. Nothing but the odor was all around me. I carry a pistol in most places I go. I have a concealed carry permit. I didn't even think of drawing it, though. I didn't think it would do any good. I finally booked it out of there. Screw this noise. I felt like I had to get out of there. About 30 yards up, I see a doe eating grass. She looks at me and doesn't seem to be scared, which is very odd. Most deer haul ass when they see you. I continued down the trail like a bat out of hell. The sound came back at some point further down the trail. I caught a young couple entering the park when I reached the entrance. I must have looked like I had seen a ghost or something, maybe even a little bit like a crackhead. They looked at me like I had 3 heads, with one coming out of my ass. I left and went home. I had forgotten all about this until one day I was listening to scary stories I had discovered on YouTube about a year after while painting my house. I stopped immediately when I heard a very similar instance being told. It was like that vacuum or silence someone had experienced while in the woods. I found out later some people call this the Oz effect or the silence.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and we'll get thousands of stories just like that, all for you to listen to for free. It'll be absolutely amazing, amazing for you. So let's do that, shall we? Let's go to Robin. All right, Robin Haynes, it's good to hear your beautiful voice again. How are you?
I am good. It's great to be here. You got to love Swamp Dweller. I love him.
Oh, me too. Me too. But I have to say something completely unrelated to you or your portion of the show, but I have to say something because I got to give a shout out to our great owner, Len Novin from The Bull in Apache Junction, where we broadcast nightly on the show. So I'm giving Len a shout out because him and I made a hockey bet. Oh, okay. So down in Apache Junction, Len plays Vegas Golden Knights hockey games. And I am an Edmonton Oilers fan. And now they have locked horns in round 2 of the NHL playoffs. Edmonton taking game 1. So I'm pumped up about that. I think this is going to be a long 7-game series, though. We made a bet. And I'm putting it out there. If the Edmonton Oilers win the series, which I know they're going to, Len must don a Edmonton Oilers hat and cheer for the Oilers for the remainder of the playoffs, as well as donate $50 to a minor hockey association in his area on behalf of Spaced Out Radio. If I lose, the Edmonton Oilers lose, and the Vegas Golden Knights win, which I don't see happening, by the way, then I have to shave my beard. And I have to put my Vegas Golden Knights hat on and cheer for the Golden Knights for the remainder of the playoffs. I have officially put my beard on the line for NHL playoff hockey.
I never thought I'd live to see the day that was coming.
I know, but I've put the beard on the line, and I'm not scared at all. You know, worst case scenario, the beard grows back, but I had to do it. This is playoff hockey. You have to believe in your team. And when you're confident in your team, like I am with the Edmonton Oilers, I'm confident to put something very important to me on the line, which is my beard.
All I can say is now it's a party. Now it's a party. This is getting hardcore. This is no longer just fun and games.
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome.
There's a reality to it.
Yes.
A complete reality to it.
This is going to be good.
So it's on. The Oilers leading the Vegas Golden Knights 1-0 in their best of 7 game series. So for all of our listeners down in Apache Junction, let me tell you, Len Novin would not sacrifice his beautiful hair because I tried to get him to cut his hair 4 inches. He's got long, beautiful hair. So I wanted 4 inches of hair. But you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. If I lose, which I don't think I will, if I lose, not only am I going to shave my beard, I'm going to send my beard to Len.
What else would you do with it?
Yeah,
That almost seems fitting.
Yeah, I'm going to have to shave my beard, and I'm going to send it to Len. That way he can put it up in the Bull Studios and make things happen, whatever he does. Maybe he'll make a voodoo doll. I don't know.
I, for one, want video proof of either side. Like, this is a match.
I will record it.
Yes.
If we lose, I will record it for you, and I will put it on my social media.
Yeah. I got to see the proof either way.
Yeah. It's not going to be pretty if that has to happen.
Well, you know what? The sacrifices we make.
Well, let's just see how it plays out. It's a long series. We're up 1 game. Anything can happen from here on out. But we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. And I'm looking forward.
We need reports on this.
Oh, I'll keep you updated. Don't you worry. I'll keep you updated. So I just had to get that out of the way.
I like that. You know, I always like a good challenge.
Me too. Me too. So, monsters. Since we saw you last, had any Bigfoot encounters?
Just the normal tapping on the window. You know, I get the tapping on the window. A lot of the minds speak. Just the normal. You know, I had somebody get hold of me the other day and they were like, you know, this big shadow just kind of stepped out and I saw this big shadowed figure. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You know, and I think it's so frightening to people because it's so abnormal. Like, we're taught and trained to believe it doesn't exist. It doesn't happen. And then when it does, everybody panics. And I get it. I totally get it. I can see why it's frightening because it's out of the normal. It's out of that little box. But I encourage everybody, if they're just stepping out and letting you take a look at them, or even if they make a noise, it's okay. That doesn't mean you're under attack. It doesn't mean to panic. If they want to hurt you, there's nothing you can do to stop it. 9 out of 10 encounters are friendly. You know, I mean, just seeing them is traumatizing, and I understand why it is traumatizing for people because they're not trained to believe that these things even exist, let alone that to happen. But, you know, try to stay calm. They're out and about right now, especially this time of year. And, you know, just know that unless they are trying to physically harm you, just their presence is okay. You know, it's like, careful what you wish for. Everybody wants to see them. And then when they get to see them, it's scary. And I get it. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's okay.
I'm curious to see what's going to happen here in 2 weeks when we start our investigation. I'm actually getting pumped up and nervous about it. Nervous in a good way, not a bad way.
Yeah. And you know what? They've gotten so used to you guys anyway. And they watch you. Even if you change locations, they're still watching you. You know, they sense that frequency. They know you've been out there before. It just gets better all the time. You know, it runs hot and cold. They have lives. They have things to do as well. But, you know, you get better and better every year and every time you're out there.
Well, I'm hoping that it will be a gentle break-in for the first few times that we're there.
Yeah.
I hope like the last thing you want is all hell to break loose before anything starts.
Yeah. Kind of sets the tone. They've been real vocal lately, which, I mean, more so than even what they normally are. You know, and people hear the calls, and a lot of time I know people that will panic even over the calls, and it's all communication. Those calls are meant to call to each other. They're not even really meant for us. I mean, once in a while they'll yell just to see if it'll scare us, but for the most part, it's for each other. And just kind of sit back and listen to it. I get it from one side of the woods, and they respond from the other side of the woods.
Let's get some audience questions for you, my friend.
Sure.
Start off with Jerry. Could a Bigfoot be domesticated? If so, would it excel in their chosen vocation?
Well, first off, as far as being domesticated, they're not an animal. They are a type of human genetically. But depending on where they are, if they're used to humans, they will interact more. The ones that are around, like where I'm at per se, most of the people around here have no idea they even exist. And the few that do are relatively comfortable with them. You get groups, and depending on where the location is, if they're like way out in the sticks, there's a reason they're out there. They don't want to be around people. They want to be away from people. And they tend to be a little bit more uncivilized as far as that goes. Meaning they are not as happy to, come up and look at you in the backyard or really even have contact. So as far as logistically, yeah, that would have something to do with it. But you can't really domesticate them. They have their own different culture. They have their own way of life on what they figure out works for them, just like we do. We tend to think we're more civilized just because we live in houses and, we do various things. However, we're far more dangerous than they are. We tend to kill what we don't understand, where they tend to be more accepting of one another than we are.
I like that answer. I like that answer. So does that mean though, okay, let's be hypothetical for a second.
Okay.
Let's say you have a or 50 acre ranch or farm that is backed up by Crown Forest or
Mm-hmm.
government forest land. Okay. And you have Sasquatch interaction on your farm. Does this mean that they would then be, you couldn't, I'm going to use the term build a friendship because I don't know really how to explain it, but could you not build a friendship or a relationship with them that, that maybe if you're working in the barn one day, they're going to come, basically say, "Hey, Ned, how you doing?" Have not a conversation, but get close enough where you could, have some sort of personal interaction with them?
Well, number one, like in Michigan as well as in Texas, I have that. But they're not going to come into the barn and, say hi, hello, or anything like that. They feel more comfortable when they decide what they're going to do. We're not calling to them. They're not going to come running just because we call. The ones in Michigan, I would holler before I, would put treats or whatever out. And then you could hear them crashing through the forest. It sounded like freight trains coming through. Not an ideal situation. I don't recommend that for people. But now, like when I'm out on the farm, they are very interactive. You get glimpses of them moving through the woods, or when I'm camping out there in the camper, I've had, one of the kids come in and try to come into the camper. You go out back and you call for them, and once in a while you'll see them coming in. If not, you'll hear them coming in. If not, you'll be up in the camper and you'll hear calls from them at night. That's their way of the interaction as far as that. And the ones in Michigan, they used to play games. My granddaughter, when she was 5 years old, she would go outside and she'd sit and our whole property was sand in the front. She'd sit in the sand and they would roll small rocks out to her from the woods, and then she would roll them back. So it is limited interaction, but it is interaction, and it is on a regular basis. I would go outside and I'd walk in the woods and I'd feel them, around me, and I'd hear them trailing me. But as far as like if I'm out in the barn and I'm working with the animals or something, and I'm showing up in the barn, just to check in and say hi, that's probably not ever going to happen. They have, with their culture and their laws states they don't interfere with our world, we don't interfere with theirs, and they don't have that kind of a relationship with us. Does that mean that absolutely none of them out there will do that? That doesn't mean that. We have some that will do whatever they want to do regardless. Shadow, when at this time he was an adolescent male, I was out in my yard, and he literally walked out of the woods and walked and stood 10 foot from me in broad daylight and just stood there staring at me. But that is not the norm. That is not something that I would tell anybody to expect. You know, getting them to come close when you're outside working in the yard or the barn or whatever, and being able to see them maneuver through the tree line or hearing them around you, that I would be very comfortable saying, you can get that. Yeah, absolutely. I've done that. But it's very rare that they're going to just like, you know, come out and let you have full physical viewing of them. That is not normal. I've had it happen 2 or 3 times, but that is not the norm.
So what is their fear? I mean, because wouldn't that mean they're kind of skittish?
Well, I think it's been bred into them that we hurt them. You know, again, we kill what we don't understand. And we have not exactly been kind to them. We have people in our world that are wonderfully kind to them and habituate with them and interact with them and, you know, try to bridge that gap between them and us. But that's not a whole lot of people when you look at how many people are in the world. Most of our people do really bad things. They'd rather have a body on the table because they think that's going to prove they exist. And just for the record, that doesn't prove they exist. You have to have a complete population that's a breeding population. When they proclaimed the mountain gorilla, they killed 900 gorillas to do it. And that still wasn't enough. With the Sasquatch, it's going to be even worse. Same thing with the dogmen. Okay. But our people are not kind. We really aren't. We destroy the earth that they live on. We destroy the woods, which is their home. And we go in the woods. And while a lot of us are really great about going in and being very respectful and just wanting interaction, a lot of our people go in there and hunt them. So it just is not a real conducive environment for them to have that trust. And through thousands of years, they've been taught by their people not to trust us. You know, anybody that even does have habituation sites with them, and I've done that, it takes a lot of trust to get them to be able to have that foundation to do that.
So how do you build that trust?
Repetitiveness, consistency, doing the same thing over and over so they know what to expect. Let them be them. If you're outside and you're in the woods with them and it's a day that they really would rather you're not there, and maybe they're out there hunting, maybe their children are out there, they don't want you out or they don't want you out there that day, you simply go home. Pick another day. You know, be respectful. We would like them to be respectful of us. It's a two-way street. You know, and they aren't always going to be respectful. We're not always going to be respectful, but at least make the effort. Don't force yourself on them. You know, if you have an area that you know the bad ones are in, it's not about just getting any interaction no matter what. It's about positive interaction. That's what keeps it coming back.
I can accept that answer. All right. You know, I don't know if you recall this or not, because you were very good friends with Keith Crabtree.
Yes, I love Keith.
But this is the week that is the anniversary of the Fouke Lake Monster
Yeah.
and the Boggy Creek.
Yes. Yeah. Keith is amazing. And I will say this, he gets it. Okay. He might have been in The Legend of Boggy Creek, which we all know is a tremendous movie. He did an amazing job and has a lot of history to it. But he truly gets them, and he understands through years and years of research with them how to behave with them, that they're not these, you know, stupid animals running around in the woods. And Keith is just a tremendous human being. Like, he really is. For anybody that has the privilege, and I mean that sincerely, the privilege of knowing him, he's incredible.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
Yeah, we'll continue with that when we return. Good start.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Oh, where'd you go?
Up,
There you
it
are.
just they did an update on the phone, and ever since they did this update, it's like been possessed by Satan. I don't even understand.
I don't know either.
Yeah, it's been all over TikTok. It's been all over the internet. Samsung did this new update, and it completely changed the format of everything in the phone. Like the phone works great, but you can't find anything, and things are blinking on and off. And it's just acting crazy.
Right.
So, but yeah, we were so lucky Keith was with us. He's just such a team player, and he's such a wonderful person. So, I'm excited to do more things with him. He moved, and he's not going to be that far from me in Texas. So I'm excited.
That'll be cool.
Yeah,
That'll be
it'll
cool.
be fun. So, so are you all rested up from your trip?
No.
You've been all over.
I won't be rested up until the weekend.
Yeah, because you left Nebraska and then you went to Vegas, correct?
Yeah, I came home for 3 days and then went to Vegas.
I need to ask you a question. You had talked to me about somebody that was on your team over at Spaced Out Radio, and we were going to
Yeah.
try to get her on the conference.
Jackie Harmon.
Yes, thank you. I needed to remember her name. I spoke with her the one time, and she was going to try to do the conference. She couldn't due to a timing issue. I want to call her and get her on for next year.
I will try and arrange that.
Yeah. It's 24th and 25th of April next year, and we would love, love, love to have her.
All right.
And I had her name written down, and then I can't find the notebook I put it in. So I was like, I got to ask Dave her name again.
I think I have a conversation with you two.
Yeah, I think you do somewhere on there. So I definitely want to get a hold of her and give her those dates ahead of time and see if she can squeeze us in, because we would love to bring her into our group. We've got some of the speakers from last year are coming back. Some of them we've got to give them a year off, and then we're going to get like Christian's, this is the second year, so he won't be with us next year, but I'd like to get him back the following year because we love having him on. He does a great job, and he's fun.
I'm just typing out a message to Jackie.
Oh, great.
You'll get it too.
Yeah. And Harriet's feeling much better, so that's a good thing.
Good.
Yeah, we love our Harriet.
I actually need to talk to you about Harriet.
Okay.
It's privately.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because yeah, I'll have to talk privately with you about that.
Yeah.
It's nothing bad. Don't get me wrong. It's nothing bad. It's just more business.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Yeah, she just was feeling under the weather for the conference, but she's back on her feet, and she's a little spitfire. And she's doing much better. She's already anxious for next year. She doesn't ever miss the conference, so that was kind of rough on her, but she's doing great.
Good. I missed seeing her.
I know. And she, asked about you right away, and, was like, bring Dave back. I want to see Dave. I didn't get to see him this time. And she wants to hear all about the things that you talked about this last time. So, yeah, we've got a few of you guys coming back. And like I said, we're going to see if we can talk Christian, and maybe not this coming year, but the following year to coming back, because he does really well and people love him.
Yeah. I love him too. Oh,
I know.
Isn't
he fun?
His name just makes me laugh.
Oh, he's hysterical. He is hysterical. Yeah, I haven't talked to him since we got back, but I got to give him a call.
We got about 30 seconds. Big thank you to CS and Kitty Caddywhack for awesome super chats tonight. Appreciate the love and support. And Robin, we got about 10 seconds.
Sounds good.
But first, I want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out, Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Robin Haynes is back with the Crypted Q&A. And Robin, thank you for being here.
Sure, I love it here.
Let's go to another audience question. Let's go to Mike Bothwell. If some people think Bigfoot come from other dimensions, in your opinion, what dimension are they coming out from?
Yeah, really good question. Seriously. They actually live on this planet. This is where their home is, this is where they live, but they are multidimensional. And by that means they can go into any dimension that they choose. They can move through portals. We have some that talk about their experiences where they go to another plane and visit Jesus, because they are very spiritual. The good ones are anyway. Our world is just multiple planes. It basically is the Matrix. And so where they may hang their hat here, they are going to go through different dimensions, different planes. Not all of them that can do that will, any more than like we can all travel and go on vacation and we don't all do that. So it comes down to what they want to do. But they live here on this planet with us. And then they move through the different dimensions. So they're really coming from here.
All right, let's go to another follow-up from Mike. Robin, when the government steps in and actually takes the body, what do they do with it? Where do they put it?
They literally take them when they catch them alive, which is very difficult. But when they do, there are underground bunkers everywhere. I can remember maybe 15 years ago when they started buying land out west, and they were building underground bunkers and holding facilities for them there. When they actually get the bodies themselves, they go to the military. The military takes them into secure locations. And we have to remember that because they are high frequency, they radiate a certain energy, for lack of a better word, and frequency. Even the ones that have passed do. It's just like it's a type of radiation. You can call it what it is, but that's how it reacts to our body. That's why we have researchers that have ongoing contact with them that end up with serious health issues, brain tumors, cancers, various things. So when I work with people, I always tell them, when you're working with them, and I do this myself, when I have a lot of up close contact, because I have some that will come right up close to me, and I will simply tell them, pull back the energy. We live in a 3-dimensional body, okay? Regardless if our frequency has us at 4 and 5D, our physical bodies are 3D. It cannot handle that. So when they find them and they have passed, or if God forbid they've killed them or somebody's killed them, they will take them to military holding facilities. Because what we know is that even the dead ones will radiate what we would consider radiation. If you have one of the little meters, Geiger counters, whatever you want to call them, even the ones that have passed are still going to pop that as radiation. So they're going to take them to government facilities. There are some colleges that they have said they were going to take the bodies to and check and do DNA and various things. And every time that I've ever heard of that, which doesn't mean it's all of them, but that I've been told about it, the government steps in and they go directly to military holding facilities. They will do different testing on them. If they can get them alive, they will try to hybridize them with various things that they shouldn't be. and do various experiments on them. They want to know how to tap into those abilities. And it doesn't work when they've passed. So if they can keep them alive, they have to keep them doped up, because that way they can't raise the frequency, and that way they can't do any of the abilities. So it's a pretty gruesome process that they go through. But once they're dead, the government will keep them in holding facilities, just because they're not even safe when they're dead. And they don't want the world to know they're really there. They're still fighting the whole letting people know they exist, because of what they are, not because they exist, but because they can't control them. They can't protect us from them. And because of what is in their genetics and the abilities that they have.
All right. Let's go to our next one here. Let's go to Joe. The Sasquatch that live near me are okay with me. If I went up to British Columbia and met those Sasquatch, would they realize I already have some Bigfoot buddies in California?
It's a possibility. But again, they are all individuals. They are all different. I tend to see people that have encounters with them that are positive do well with other groups. But that being said, if you go to like Alaska, okay? Alaska is this huge open area. A lot of the ones that are way out in the wilderness are there because they don't want contact with us. So even though you're having great connections with them where you're at, if you were to go into those areas with the aggressive ones are, it's probably not going to help you. If you're going to go from a good area where you're at now and go to, other places where there's other ones that are good, chances are they're going to read that in you because they read your intent. So will it help you? Very possibly. But it doesn't stop you from having problems with the bad ones.
How come?
Because the bad ones don't want to be around us. They just don't. They don't like us. They don't care. They don't even want to associate with the good ones in their people, let alone ours. But it does
Okay.
help you.
Okay. So to add to Joe's question, let's say like he's in California, he's got Sasquatch on his property. If he came up here, would the Sasquatch be able to read his frequency that he is used to that type of contact?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, a lot of the times it will help you. It's helped me through the years. But when it comes to the ones that don't like our people because of what we've done to them and their race, it's not going to make a difference. You might be able to get a little bit of leniency, but they still can be very dangerous. But yeah, once you are interacting with them and they're used to you, word spreads. And they're all, and I really stress this to everybody, they are all connected through the collective consciousness, which means what one knows, a lot of them do. So yeah, if he's getting active contact in California and it's all positive and it's working well, and he goes somewhere else, absolutely it's going to help. And when he goes out there, whether he can hear mind speak or not, they can. So talk to them in your mind. You know what? I work with your friends. I care about you. I come with peace and love in my heart. I just want to continue interactions. And it works. It helps. It's like they will pass that word along. It's the collective consciousness.
All right, let's move on to another question here. Let's go to the Doug Shelby. Hey, Robin, I was wondering if Sasquatch in Missouri hate being referred to as the Momo.
Yeah, they don't like all these terms. It's like for years when I was little, I called them Bigfoot. Everybody does. They don't like it. They tolerate Sasquatch. Different geographical areas are where they have the different name changes. You get down Texas area, some of these, I don't want to say southern states, but like Alabama, Louisiana, whatever, and they become Sukalu. So it really depends on the location, but Sasquatch is the basic term. They can handle that. Being called Momo to them is a very derogatory way to refer to them. It's just like, I know a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with these people. They're wonderful. And they call them the boogers. Okay? That's disrespectful to them and their culture. It's not to us, and we don't necessarily mean it in a bad way. We're not being disrespectful any more than when I was a kid, I called him Bigfoot. You know, I wasn't being disrespectful to them, and they tolerated it when I did it because they knew my intent, and my intent was not to be disrespectful. But no, they really don't like all these slang terms. They will tolerate it from people where they read them, they know their intent, they know their heart, and they know they don't mean it in that type of manner, but it does not give them a warm, fuzzy feeling.
That makes sense. Let's go to X, where Dookie is asking, Robin, what is the relationship between Sasquatch and trees? Do they cloak using tree energy? Do they use them as a portal? Any ideas?
Yeah, tree energy comes from the earth. The earth is the biggest energizer battery there is. They are their own being. It's not like they're elementals or dimensionals or anything, but they're very much in touch with the earth. The energy from the trees, they live amongst it. Okay. They know it feels good to them. I have seen a lot of them go up and literally blend their energy and frequency with the trees. And you literally see them look like they become part of the tree. I mean, they just kind of blend in with it. They do have an attachment to them. It's comforting to them. It makes them feel better to be around them. Trees, for people that mind speak, you can talk to a tree, you'll get an answer. You know, for the people I work with that I teach about frequency and energy, I teach them how to do energy transference between them and the tree, and then they pull energy back from the tree. The Sasquatch does the same thing. They get energy from it. It's an energy being in itself. They can pull energy from it. They can merge energy with it. And we already know that when they are in front of certain things, that they can blend their colorations into it. I have several photos of them in bushes and shrubs, and they look like they're green because they take that frequency and they merge it with the trees and the plant life or whatever, and they literally can change their coloration so they blend. And there's been a lot of people that have seen them actually open portals into the trees and go in them. I've seen them do that. I've seen them do it with rocks, you know, like rock walls on the side of the road where they made a road that's gone through the rocks. I had one cross in front of my car and walk up to this rock wall, and it just opened up. He went in it and then it closed. You know, and no matter how many times you see these crazy things, you're left looking at it going, did I really just see what I saw every single time? So yeah, they can. It's all about the frequencies. They can do anything with that frequency if they raise it high enough.
All right. Perfect answer. Let's go over to Creepy Pasta. Hey, Robin. Since I've been trying to work on my energy and vibration, I have noticed I have been waking up almost hourly. Is there a reason for that, or is it unrelated?
Want to make sure I put this right. When you have a higher frequency and energy, you are able to do a lot of things. And does it make you wake up all the time? The only possible connection that I would know of, and I don't know everything, I'm not an expert, is when your frequency is high enough, you can mind speak with everything. And so when you go to sleep, and I have this problem myself, I'm up every hour on the hour. Somebody's always got something to say. The other thing is your body is a holding facility. That's all it is. Your soul does not sleep. When you are of a higher, your soul's going to move around throughout the night anyway when your body's asleep. But when you're a higher frequency, it's even more active. So that's why we get that effect where we wake up in the morning and we are more exhausted than when we went to bed because our soul's been out running around and having a good time. But when you are of a higher frequency, you are more tuned in with any type of a being in a paranormal spectrum, and they are more aware of you. So as your body is sleeping in that third dimension and your soul is active and your consciousness is active as a higher frequency, you're more tapped into your consciousness, you do get more awake periods where things are going to try to communicate with you while you're sleeping.
So basically, you're not shutting down your consciousness to relax, and your
Yeah.
mind is basically astrally traveling.
Absolutely. Your mind is a third dimensional thing. So that will sleep and your physical body will, because it has to in order to survive. But your consciousness, which is different than the brain, and your soul are completely active and they are interacting. And as your frequency goes up, it's more interaction. It's like when I go to sleep, I leave my TV on because if I don't, I can hear everything talking to me all night long. And I'm still up 10, 12 times a night.
Ouch. Let's go to Blue Cruise. Have you heard of the case where a human female gave birth to a female Sasquatch with dominant human genetics, allowing her to blend in and completely immerse herself with a human family?
I'm trying, that's a long question, so I'm trying to make sure I get it right. There have been cases because of the human DNA in them where they have bred with a human male, a female has. Okay. And as far as, them having a child, they've had both male and female, as far if they're asking about that. They normally tend to be more dominant of a Sasquatch than a human. Okay, so there is that part of it. I'm trying to answer all of this. Oh, I blend into completely. Yeah, they don't, from my understanding, the ones I've heard of, and I haven't heard of every case on the planet, but they normally do not blend in with the human family well. They normally have problems mentally because they're not created for our people. They really aren't. We already know that the female has a human motto in it. Okay, so they are able to breed. They're not allowed to. Their laws are very clear that they are not allowed to do that. But just like with us, they have lawbreakers. So it does sometimes happen. It's not a good thing, but it does sometimes happen. And it can be, one of our women end up impregnated by a male, or one of their females are impregnated by one of our men. But the children do not do well. They tend to be wild, completely feral. Most of them that I have heard about have got, a lot of hair. They don't look like we do. They tend to look more genetically like them. I've only heard of one case that it didn't look like that. I take that back too. But there were characteristics that were, whether it be more of a bulbous nose or bigger lips or whatever, but they do tend to mentally not match with us as well. Now, if you look at the story of Zaina and Puet, where Zaina, 1,000 years, or not 1,000 years ago, but hundreds of years ago, the female Zaina bred with a human man in her village. And Igor Borstev has that incomplete story. And her son, Kuwait, there are photos of him. And he does look more human. I will say that. There's a few features that look, where he has the bigger lips or whatever, and his skull looks a little bit bigger, but he does look very human. But predominantly the cases that I have heard about or read about, they are more feral, they are wild, they have a lot of mental problems because they really are not of our people. They tend to be more like them.
We have 3 minutes to go here. And before the break, last half hour, we were talking about the Boggy Creek monster
Mm-hmm.
because it is the anniversary. I believe it's what would that be? 72, the 52nd anniversary. 71? 71, 53rd anniversary
Yeah.
of the legend of Boggy Creek. Why do you think that Sasquatch became so curious, aggressive, standoffish at that time?
I think number one, people didn't even understand they existed, let alone how to be around them. And I think it got very preoccupied with people, and people were around. I don't know what was going on at that time, whether or not there was things, were they cutting down the woods a lot? Were they building, a lot of things like that can set them off if it's in their home and all of a sudden their home's getting destroyed. But I do know, like, I've only seen the movie a couple of times and I've talked to Keith about it. And I just think that it's appeared to me from the movie that it was by itself. I never saw where they saw a clan of them or anything like that. It was just a male off by itself from what I saw. And I think that it got too preoccupied with people. It didn't know what they were. Back then, when that actually happened, not when the movie came out, but when that scenario happened, there was not a lot of contact with them. There was not a lot of habituation sites where people were working with them and being around them. And I think it just was a matter of both sides at the same place at the same time, and neither side understood the other one. And I think a lot of things that it did probably wasn't great, and it was frightening, absolutely. But I also think it was misread because their ways are not ours. And the way they do things can be very frightening to us, and that's not necessarily their intention. And then things that we do terrify them and scare them, even when that's not our intention. It's two different cultures. And I think they were just in the same place at the same time. And I think it was scared. You know, back then, hunting was a big deal. So now we've got humans running around with guns. That could have brought out the aggression in it, just knowing that the humans had guns. I think that we didn't know enough of the background history as to what was going on. But I don't remember, and I could be wrong, but I don't remember in that movie ever seeing where anybody said anything about a clan of them. It was more
Right.
like a rogue just running around. And that could have been part of the aggressiveness, because he could have been aggressive in the clan and he got booted, you know, and it took it out on everybody else. I don't think we'll ever really know. But it was amazing, and Keith was phenomenal in it, and he's a treasure for that whole situation because he can talk to us about it.
He really is a treasure. That is
He is.
for sure. Robin, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio each and every time we do, because you make it so much fun
Well,
to have
thank
you
you.
in this segment. And we will talk to you next week. Where can people email you?
You can get me and email me at RLYNNE and then a period, Forest, FOREST, people, PEOPLE at gmail.com, or paranormal-empowerment.
I know you're out there somewhere. This is the new totalitarian state.
Thank you so much.
1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay and I don't make a mistake. We're watching.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah, you take care and get hold of me about Harriet.
I will. Talk to you very soon.
Okay, take care, everybody. Bye.
Good night. Robin Haynes, everybody. Deboruni, thank you for that second beautiful super chat. Thank you. Didn't see any aliens. I did eat at Taco Bell 3 times. So it was worth it. It was yummy. Tomorrow night on the show, Renario Hernandez is here. The connection between God, aliens, and UFOs. We're going to have a good time with that. All right. So make sure you check it on out. Thank you tonight to Deb ×2, Kitty Cattywhack, and CS. I'm going to go quickly edit this quietly because I'm tired. It's been long, and I got like a 8:30 to 1 a.m. night tomorrow night. I got a long, bloody day tomorrow, and we're going to push it through. So I'll see you all tomorrow night. Have a good one. and good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.